Welcome back to Clockwork Noodles for another breakdown of Vinland Saga Season 2, episode number 15. This episode was just absolutely insane. There's a lot of really big contrasts going on, a lot of colours going on. Can't wait to break it down with you guys. Welcome back to the channel and thank you guys for your continued support. If you have found me for the first time, I am breaking down Vinland Saga on the channel every single week until we run out of episodes, basically. Welcome to the channel and the Noodle Bowl. Consider giving us a subscribe. Every little helps because we are very close. We are now 18 noodlings away from the big old 700. Very excited, so hopefully that would be my goal for the year, is trying to hit that 700 mark. We need to get back to Vinland Saga because this week's episode was just insane. There was so much, there was a lot of really nice moments that I want to discuss. I did think initially there was a favourable wind which was blowing that allowed Arnheid a chance to see Garda. As soon as she had that chance, it felt like fate was already in motion. I had a feeling that something was going to happen that would allow them to escape. Mainly because the OP has got the two on the run. I am taking the OP to be a little bit literal here that they do actually make it out. Hopefully that is the case, although it looks like Snake is on the warpath, which is difficult. I am also really confused because next week's teaser kind of made it look like she was back and she was a slave and he was out again. Not quite sure, so we're going to have to wait till next week to get proper answers. Arnheid, just amazing. The fact that she just stood up. She walked all that way. We were told it was actually quite far. The guy refuses to walk back. There's no horses. I'm not going to walk you back. It's far. We were told that she's walked that far for a glimpse of him. I didn't initially get the vibe that she was going to free him. Last minute she did. Maybe he broke his bonds because he was so angry, but it just felt like she wasn't going to do that. I think in her mind she hadn't really thought what she was going to do. I don't think she had decided on what she was going to do. Though I am glad, but I'm also worried because she could now put her head on the chopping block. Maybe it is better to die free, go out how you want, as we discussed last week. Nice sequence because there's no music at this point. There's no music playing. It's a very serious scene, and when Vinland Saga wants to show you the severity of something, it does cut the music, which I appreciate because it's a really difficult scene. They talk to each other, but they also can't talk to each other. He apologizes and that's when the music starts to kick back in, but there's silence between a husband and a wife who haven't seen each other for a year. He promises to look after her and her son, but at this point he breaks down because the son is dead. He doesn't know the son is dead just yet. It's painful because you feel like there's so much they want to say to each other, but there's so much that now that they just can't say to each other, and plus you've got an audience, which makes it even more difficult to really want to say. I did have to admit, Soft Gadir really sounded like Aina, to the point that I actually had to do a double check, go and check out who was voicing who. It's not the same VA, but they are very, very similar sounding. Soft Aina and Soft Gadir really do sound beautiful. It's nice also to see Soft Gadir because at the end of the day, he is just a husband who loves his wife. Life got in the way. Life, especially in this period of time, is very, very difficult. There's so much in this scene I could never even understand or begin to understand how either of these characters feel, but it's such a good sequence and it's really, really moving. Gadir really is just a force to be reckoned with, however, so even with all the whole untie me thing, the dude didn't even need untying. He was able to rip out somebody's throat. This is a very brutal sequence. I am not showing any of it because we know what YouTube's like. No human being juice. This sequence is just brutal, absolutely brutal. Ferociousness as the guy goes down to try and touch his wife and then he just reacts and goes nuts because again at that point he's promised to stay by her side. He was asking her, free me, free me. You can see the guys picking up their weapons, getting closer and closer, and this is obviously when it all hits the fan. Arnheid is in full on shock. The guy's literally had his throat ripped out in front of her. She's freaking out. I don't even feel like she wanted to let him go, but now the possibility's there. I think maybe she acted by force. Maybe she told herself that I wasn't here to let him go, but actually deep down, if I get that opening, I will. You don't really know how she's feeling. She may have told old man Catil, Thorfinn, and I know that I'm going to settle down, raise his child with Catil, but at the same time, you want to be free. No doubt if you had the chance to be free, you would take it. Quick split decision, I feel. If she has actually let him free, and obviously we do see a bit of a time skip, apparently she did, well, perhaps she did. Everybody is now dead at the fort. Something could have happened. He could have technically just ripped the bonds off his hands. There's a possibility he was so angry, somehow he managed to get them cut. We do know he is wounded, however, double wounded. This is why I'm very panicky because I feel like he's going to die, she might die, but at the same time, if they do die, I guess they die free and together. I don't want them dead, but at the same time, I also don't want them living a life of having no freedoms. Snake is truly pissed. He is not a happy bunny. He's now on the warpath. You understand why he's angry, but then we understand why Gadir is angry, and he's never going to truly understand what it means to be a slave unless he himself experiences it. This is an anime that really makes you think about what people are going through and how each character is acting on why they're acting the way that they are. But that is our contrast. That's our first sequence. The first sequence is red. It's full of fierceness. It's full of blood. Now we're going to go to a complete contrast, which is why I really love today's episode. It's an episode of two halves. The first half is fast-paced. It's violent. You're chewing your nails wondering what's going to happen. I want to know if these guys are going to get free. But we're going to go now to a nice blue, tranquil sequence. We're going to go to blues. We're going to have some cold mornings. We're going to have some grey skies. We're going to have Thorfinn and Einar together talking very low-key, very calm. And I love how low-key and calm they sound. Nobody's slept. It's quiet. It's very soft-spoken, which I really like compared to the first half. Everything about this sequence just connects to the last sequence. It's a whole contrast of its own, which I really, truly like. Thorfinn really being mature, because it takes a lot to admit I was wrong. That is something that a lot of people sometimes struggle with. Some people will go out believing that they are right or refusing to acknowledge that maybe I acted in a way that was wrong. I really do appreciate Thorfinn being able to look back. I was wrong. I know that I was wrong to do this. And obviously this has led to Thorfinn having his pacifist moment that he now doesn't want to kill anybody. He doesn't want to add to the amount of growing ghosts that are haunting him. Both are technically on the same side. They both believe that slavery is wrong. Taking away somebody's freedom is wrong. Einar was similar to me because I've even read here, sometimes you need to fight to protect what you need. And this is where Einar comes in a little bit later on. I love the idea of peace and never fighting, but sometimes I see why people would need to fight if they need to protect themselves. If someone's coming in to take over my lands, I could become a slave, or I could maybe stand up for myself, try fighting. That's what this anime is trying to drive home. Irony as well. Against the background of war that we've witnessed in season 1. It's a very interesting anime that really does drive the comparison, and the irony of Einar saying, I can't imagine you as a warrior, Thorfinn. I can't imagine you doing any of that. He's not seen season 1 like us. We've seen season 1. We're also seeing these screenshots of young Thorfinn killing people on screen. Einar is a character who hasn't seen any of this, and he's just met Thorfinn offhand as he is right now, and I can't imagine you doing any of that. And that's just, for me, I find that quite unique to think about, because sometimes you can meet somebody and they've obviously lived through a horrible situation, but you meet them as they are and you go, I can't imagine you doing that, or I can't imagine you acting in that kind of ways. A world without slavery and war. Sadly, even till this day, 2023, we've got war. We've got slavery going on in certain countries. It's something that we haven't even realised till this day. So even I just don't think it's ever going to happen. I wish it would. I guess that is the question that this anime is really trying to make us think about. Like, could it be possible that we ever have a world where nobody has to fear for their lives? Nobody has to become a slave to anybody? And it's a really deep question. There's never really going to be a answer that we can hit. We know the answer should be yes, there should never be a war. But it's sadly a world where that doesn't really seem to ever be the case, and we always seem to be repeating our history as opposed to learning from history. Love how Thorfinn is able to give us that really rounded answer, because I've been on both sides. I know that this is what I want to achieve, but I also know it's quite difficult with it being ingrained in the culture. If you grow up believing that, you must prove yourself on the battlefield, this is how I've raised myself, and if you're weak, you are going to perish, you're not going to survive in a society. You act as you are growing around you. You act according to your environment. And this is a very philosophical topic that you can spend plenty of time talking about. It would be great to see if we could. I did keep thinking about Canute, what Canute was trying to achieve and him trying to achieve his utopia. However, Canute's okay with getting his hands dirty, having the war, because he sees the war as a means to an end. He wants that peaceful utopia. He's going to go about it in a very different way than Thorfinn wants to. Thorfinn doesn't want to kill anybody anymore. He doesn't want to add another soul to his ever-growing mountain of bodies. I think that's the interesting thing against those two. There's always comparisons, and Canute versus Thorfinn are such a good comparison, because they both technically were taught by the same man. They were grown and raised under Asklad. I do think they both partially slap bang together look a bit like Asklad, and I think that's the point. They're supposed to look quite similar to him. Thorfinn now starts to get that little seed. His seed is very similar. Canute wants his utopia. Thorfinn wants a paradise away from everybody. And obviously we're starting to do the Vinland thing. It's been a while since we've done any Vinlanding. For a while I've been going, so when are we going to start Vinlanding? This is kind of that moment, because some very nice symbology as Thorfinn is now allowing the dead to cling to him, because he says, I need to atone. This is what I have to do to atone. It fuels his desire. How could you perhaps have a world without slavery, a world without anything? And he says, I need to grow. I need to start producing. And this then trickles into Vinland. We've been told this story right at the start. I do remember the story because it was Leif Erikson who said it, and I love Leif Erikson. I think it's awesome. Does make me wonder if he's going to hurry up and get to the farm, because right about now, we definitely need that man. This does start leading into the Vinland thing, because Vinland is supposed to be across a sea, somewhere so far away that the Vikings can't come. Einar then puts into play my worry. How do you defend peace? Because sometimes if you want peace, you might want the best thing, and somebody starts to invade. How do you defend that? How do you do this? How do you go about it? And this is where we go beyond. We have to get out of everybody's reach. You have to go somewhere far enough away, like Vinland, where we start to do the Vinland thing. We're starting to Vinland, guys. I'm very happy because it's setting those seeds and that dream in motion. That's when the sun starts to come out. I love the fact that the sun starts to come out of the skies, and Einar says finally had some good news this morning. Sadly, our good news doesn't last very long. It is interrupted by the sounds of war and angry mob. They are looking for Gadir and Arnheid because they believe that they have run away to their shed. I really want Leif Erikson to hurry up. He needs to get here very, very quick. That final shot with really angry Snake. It's not a happy bunny. And Old Man Catil looked at that gesture, at how he was sitting quietly at peace in his heart. He knew that Arnheid had achieved what it was, and I think just deep down he might have been a bit happy for them. I think Old Man Gadir's fate now is tied to Canute's arrival on the farm. I just get this vibe that he's going to die maybe as Canute lands, or maybe as the war hits, because he's not long for the world. I think it's coming. I think it's going to happen perhaps this season as well. Really, really hope next week we get answers, because that tease doesn't make me feel good. I see Arnheid with Einar and Thorfinn again. You're brought back. Where is your husband? I've got questions. We've all got to wait 6 days. We've got to wait 6 days now to get answers. Gadir is very, very wounded. How long is that really going to be for? Is he going to die? I also got the feeling that Arnheid wasn't ever going to escape. Maybe Catil is going to get back, and I don't know, he's going to get wind of all this situation. He's going to get back and he's being chased by Canute, sitting on a ticking time bomb. And whatever happens, gonna be explosive. It really feels explosive. I do wonder where we're gonna end this season. We have got 9 episodes left. Getting very nervous now. What's gonna happen in these last 9 episodes? Where are we cutting season 2? And are we gonna get season 3? This story isn't done. This story is far from being done. So I expect there to be another season. Will Mappa provide us the goods? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you find my ramblings and my thoughts and things I find interesting, at least of interest to you guys, and maybe they match the bits that you were also thinking. You might have picked out some of the similar vibes that I was getting, the contrasty vibes and stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really hope you guys are having a great week and you are looking after yourselves. I will see you guys again next week. Bye bye, guys.